Wagering World. It's your boy 5 Star in Vegas, broadcasting as always from beautiful Summer, Nevada, with my co-host, the one and only Sacramento Kings fan that I know. What's good, Spread?
Man, we're having a great weekend here. We did pretty well on the picks for the Wagering World episode 2. Looking forward to bringing more winners to the people.
Oh, definitely, man. You know how we start this one, man. We always kick it off with the past, present, and the future. Where we kind of talk about what we did last week and talk about what's going on today and what we're looking for a future bet. Spread, what's up with the past, man? What happened last week?
All right. Well, we did like the over 44.5 on the Niners versus the Rams. We ended up able to get it home, and I thought that was a nice play because if you watch the game, the side was tough, right? Yeah. First half, the Rams looked like the right side. Second half, the 49ers ended up being the right side. The over was the safest play. I like to say if those two teams meet again, we could say that that's going to be a coin flip on who wins that one.
Oh, definitely, man. What an interesting game that was, man. It was the tale of two halves. When they say that, it literally applied to that game spread. First half, the Rams looked like gangbusters. The defense was shutting down the 49ers, completely in control of the game. Matthew Stafford, I think, was maybe 15 out of 17 the first half, looking unstoppable. But whatever motivational speech that Shanahan gave those guys at halftime, I don't know if John Lynch came down from the box and talked to them and told them their jobs were on the line or something if they didn't get to the playoffs. But, hey, those men came to play second half, man. It started early. What a defining drive when Shanahan just kept feeding Elijah Mitchell, man, and ran it down their throat. They literally physically imposed their will on the Rams, and the Rams should really be embarrassed with that second half performance. My wife and I watching the game. Every time she see that my wife sees Sean McVay, she said the same thing. Like, what is wrong with this little guy? All up in the video. She said he's just like I should said about Puff Dad. He's all up in the video. It makes no sense. He's the only coach that when his team scores, he makes sure that he's on the camera running to the end zone, high-fiving guys. Like, dude, just stand on the sidelines, man. Come on, man. And all of that, those type of antics really leave yourself out there to be spoken about and for people to pick at you, man, when, the results end up like it was on that game, man. Your team comes in the second half and just completely gets punked, man. And it was a really bad performance second half by the Rams. I don't look for them to do too much in the playoffs after that performance because we know you have to be physical in the playoffs, man. You can't win with finesse in the playoffs. And it was quite disappointing what they did second half because I ended up laying the Rams on a personal play, -3, -125. I should have just took the first half. I had the first half as well, so I cashed on the first half. But the big cash was the over 44 that we gave out. That was my biggest bet on that game. So I'm glad that we were able to see that over 44 go because of the great drive at the end by Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah.
That's your guy, too. That's your guy. You were just talking about Jimmy last week.
Hey, now he's 31-16, 31-15 as the starter. Wins over 2/3 of the time, and the whole fan base wants him gone. Great point about the halftime adjustments, right? It's almost like they took a page out of their Bay Area compatriots book, right? Steve Kerr and the Warriors, right? When they just come out and smash that third quarter. Bay Area definitely has to be happy about that. And as we know, in this wagering world that we live in, there's no such thing as a lock, right? Even if you cap the game right. And we kind of fell victim to that in 2 of our college plays this weekend. Injuries, boy, I watching them both, and you just feel the team sink when that happens. Why don't you give us a quick breakdown of the NC or FBS championship game, and then of course Alabama and Georgia, where boy, I felt like we capped the game right, and injuries just came back to bite us.
At the end of the day, everyone is going to say. It doesn't matter. The final score is all that matters. No, the final score doesn't always tell you the story of the game. And if we know spread, you can't cap injuries that happen during the game, man. There's nothing that you can do about it. We had some really, really, really bad luck on both the FCS championship game and the national championship game last night. with Alabama and Georgia. First in Montana. And it's crazy because both of the players that were injured were my main focus when I was giving out the games. They were the main people who had I was looking to carry their teams and keep their teams involved to get within that spread. As you know, Tommy Mellett is the only reason Montana State was even in the championship. They were 8th seed. He became the quarterback right at the end of the season, and his play is what catapulted them to where they had gotten. And the whole offense revolved around him, man. He's the best running back on the team, the best quarterback on the team, the best passer, the best, everything. He was the team's total momentum on offense. And on the first drive, North Dakota State, his defensive end tackled him and twisted his ankle really bad, so bad that the kid could barely walk on the sidelines. He tried to make a go of it at halftime. He couldn't get any speed, put any thing on his leg, man. So it's quite unfortunate. After that, it just snowballed for them. As you know, North Dakota State is a real dynasty, man. Those guys can play. Much respect to them. Made a lot of money over the years on the Bison. But we got a really bad break by losing the starting quarterback who was completely the engine to that whole offense. We lost him in the first series of the game of the first quarter. So from that point, they had to go to, as you know, Mellett was their backup anyway. The starting quarterback had got hurt earlier in the season, and Mellett had took fire, and that's why they went to the playoffs and they made a deep run. So now they're down to their third string quarterback, and that guy was out there just throwing ducks, uncomfortable. I'm sure he hadn't got a lot of snaps out yet, and he's thrown in against the FCS beast, the Bison's defense, unbelievable defense, well coached. Their coach, Matt Entz, is a defensive genius. He could go to the NFL right now, man, and be a decent coordinator, but he loves it in Fargo. So props to North Dakota State for, another championship there. I think that's 9 out the last 11 years. Big props to them, man, for what they built up there. And we just got a bad break, man. We lost our starting quarterback first drive. And last night, oh, man, Alabama had complete control of the game. As you can see, just remember, if you remember the SEC championship game, Jameson Williamson was unstoppable that game. He had 175 yards, 2 touchdowns. They couldn't stop him from going over the top because the way that Georgia plays defense, they're mostly a man team. Like you said in the previous, when we spoke previously about the game, they did a little zone because they couldn't control him. Every time they went man, he was killing them over the top the first time they played. So he was getting loose again. As soon as the Bill O'Brien and Nick Saban had made the adjustment, you see the play that he got hurt on, he was wide open for a 40-yard pass right up the seam. It's just the turf monster got him. Unfortunate for us. I don't know why they're still playing on that type of turf that they were playing on in Indianapolis, but he made a move, man. His ACL snapped. You saw it. It gave out immediately. And at that time, I remember we texted each other. It was like, hey, man, this is not good at all. Because it's no way. He's the one guy besides Bryce Young Alabama could not afford to lose, was Jameson Williams. He was their only deep threat on the team, most electric player. And you saw the way the offense looked after he left. I mean, Bryce Young was dropping dimes to these kids who they barely probably even practicing, getting any reps in practice because you could tell by when they got in the game, these guys hadn't touched the field, man. I hadn't seen them all year. And they couldn't come through with the plays. And how could we expect it? They're playing against the best defense in the country because Georgia's defense is unbelievable. You had to have a guy like Jameson Williams to compete with them. They had already lost Mechie, who had a strong game against Georgia in the SEC championship game, and he got injured in that game. And Alabama was also down 2 running backs. So it was just, bad thing. Injuries do happen, but like I said, the final score is never the entire story. You can't cap it. People who really bet sports and who really watch sports like we do, who don't just look at the final score in the box or in the newspapers, understand what happens. And they know it was just a bad look, man. It was just, injuries, man. They happen. But it's okay. We're going to get back to the present. We've turned the page on that, and we're going to get back to where our feet at today. The game everyone's talking about. Who everybody talking about, Spread?
Mute. Excuse me, I was on mute.
Good.
We're reigniting one of the best rivalries of my youth, right? The 49ers versus the Cowboys. This was back before the salary caps came in the NFL, right?
Yes.
And the NFL was so top heavy, right? And so you didn't even watch the regular season. You just waited for the Cowboys and the Niners to play during the regular season. And then once again, when they meet in the playoffs in the mid-90s, so much fun. Now they meet again in the wild card round, right? Haven't had as much success recently, but both teams have great reason to feel good about the way that they're coming into the postseason. The Niners getting hot just at the right time. You know, we talked about Jimmy G. He's, you know, may not be impressing the fans, but he's getting it done with the wins. And then the Cowboys, of course, get back on track with the big win over the Eagles. The offense was flowing. Dak was smiling. They look like they're firing on all cylinders as well. So this should be a fantastic game. How are you approaching it?
It's no way I'm going against the 49ers at this point. They're the hottest team rolling into the playoffs. Definitely trust Shanahan more than McCarthy. I understand McCarthy has produced in the playoffs before. As you know, he had a great run that year when Green Bay kind of similarly did what the 49ers are trying to do this year. Okay, they came in as a wild card. They were hot at the end of the year, and they rode the play of Aaron Rodgers. Jimmy G's injuries can only get better as the year progresses. Right now, from what I'm seeing on that line from the 49ers, I got to take that 3 points, man. It's no way that I know the Cowboys are explosive. I know they've got playmakers on offense and defense. It's just, man, it's tough to go against the 49ers right now, man, the way that they're playing, because you and I know that if you control the game on the line on both sides of the ball, you have the key to the game. So they're playing lights out on the offensive line and the defensive line. I don't see the Cowboys being able to get out the field. They struggle with the run, as you saw what happened with Arizona, with a much lesser running game, was able to come into Dallas and just get enough couple plays from Kyler Murray. But mostly it was them running the ball with Chase Edmonds. I think that Lil Shanahan will have something prepared, a great game plan. And I wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers go in there and in the Cowboys season in the first round of the playoffs. But for sure, I like the 3.
Yeah, you got to really not like this matchup if you are the Dallas Cowboys. But if you're a football fan, you have to love the matchup. Let's look. It's kind of the clash between the old school style, right? Get up there, line up the football, and the new style. Hey, we get more yards expected per play. If we throw the ball, we're going to throw it almost every down, right? And the Cowboys used to be a running team. Now with Dak and all those weapons, they've got more of a high-profile offense, kind of got away from the bully ball that they used to play when Zeke was really young. Maybe that's for the best, but I love to see the contrast in styles here. And, you know, being an older guy and capping for a while, you know I like the guys that just line up and run the ball down your face, because there's really no metric that can really truly properly value the demoralization it gets when you're on that field and they're just beating you with the simplest play in the book, right? I mean, guys start fighting in the huddle, pointing fingers, right? If you mess up a pass coverage, you okay, we're going to play this differently. Let's switch our coverage, right? When you're just lining up and getting beat off the ball, it can do something to a team. So I can't wait to see this game, but I'm with you. It's 49ers or pass. I think it's going to be tough to take Dallas as a favorite in this spot.
Yes, definitely. And getting back to what you said, I remember those days, man. We're the same age, so we kind of remember those. It was great times, man. Like you said, it was like an arms race at that time. I remember Dion would play for the Cowboys, then go to the Niners for a year, come back to the Cowboys, and whoever got Dion.
Charles Haley did that too.
Charles Haley, they pretty much had the key to the Super Bowl. If you got Haley or if you got Dion, you know, to just give you just enough defense to win. And then later on, Green Bay snuck in there with Brett Favre, and they got kind of in the mix, and they went and had that big victory in Dallas and kind of knocked Dallas out of that spot that they had at the time against them and the Niners, just all the time battling for supremacy in the NFC. Definitely two different styles, and styles make fights. It would be different if Dak had been playing the best ball. He hasn't been playing his best ball, man. He's looked pretty mediocre. He has so many weapons outside. But they will really, really, really be missing one of their wilds, and that's Gallup. Gallup would have been major in this because, as you know, the weakness the 49ers have is their defensive backs. When you get past the first two and get down to their third and fourth corners, that's where you have a chance to really take advantage of them. Without Gallup, it makes a major difference. I think that's what's going to be a major factor for them not having Gallup. Excuse me. I was looking at the stats right here. Dallas is 9 number 1 in total yards. Frisco is number 3 in total yards on defense right now, but they're 6th against the pass, man, and 7 against the run. That's pretty impressive. Whereas in Dallas they're 16th against the rush and 20th against the pass right now. I know they have some playmakers. I know that the kid from Penn State is a beast, man. He might be the first player since Lawrence Taylor to have Rookie of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. But all that goes out the window, man. You have to, when you, like you say, demoralization of being ran on and ran down your throat the whole game. We saw the Rams get their whole manhood took from them. We watched it. It was like you're on TV watching, like, oh my God, they're just dogging them. You know what I mean? And you rarely see that type of dominance between two professional teams. You know, it looked like high school. You know, in high school, that happens all the time. You come out, you just overmatch them, you just power driving the team and running down the throat. You know, the team just can't match up. You rarely see professional teams get handled like the 49ers handled the Rams. And I've seen the 49ers do this in the past. When they won that run to the Super Bowl the last time, we remember they did Green Bay the same way. I just can't see like taking the Cowboys in any type of way, -3. I'm sorry. And the 50.5, on that total, that's a real shaky total because I'm sure the Shanahan is going to try to do some long 15-play drives, 4 yards in the cloud of dust, get down to third and shorts where they got options where they can either go to Debo, run the ball, or go play action and go to Kittle. And that's another thing. Kittle's been quiet the last couple of weeks. I expect him to have a big game this week. He's been very, very quiet the last couple of weeks. They've been focusing more on IU and on Debo. I expect Kittle to show up this game. So me personally, we're going to take the 49ers +3 over here at the Wagering World, me and Spread. And we suggest you do the same or pass. There's no way I could take the Cowboys. The only reason they're getting they're giving up 3 is because they're at home. They're not the better team right now. They're not playing better right now. They have a loaded roster, but their line play is going to really hurt them in this game. What do you think about
one more thing about the Cowboys before we move on? They're also a team that ran up their statistics against the weaker teams in the NFC East, right? Averaging 38.3 points against the NFC East, right? Now, I didn't correlate that to see what they're averaging against the other teams, but if you're running a statistical model, that really artificially inflated their value in my mind by beating up. The Eagles are pretty good, but the football team and the Giants were absolutely terrible, and they were able to take advantage of these weaker teams and really what I think is artificially inflating their value. After that point, though, 5-star, I got to hear about the future. What do we got?
Okay, man, I like definitely like the Niners. We just were speaking about that. They're hot right now. Unfortunately, Brandon Staley ruined my 25-1 bet on the Chargers. And believe me, we have a lot of time to talk about those. Brandon Staley, he's going to be the focus of Kick the Damn Extra Point definitely this week. But we like the Niners. I do. I like the Niners a lot, man. +800 to come out the NFC and make it to the Super Bowl. You're getting 8-1 on the most physical team in the NFC right now. They're playing the best ball. It looks like Debo Samuels is on a mission. He's like a man on a mission. On their last drive, I saw him on the sidelines pretty much tell Jimmy G, just get me the ball, man. You know, he pointed to the heavens and he told him, like, get me the ball and I'm going to make this happen. And he did, man. IU is coming along. 49ers look good, man. Their defense is swarming. D-line is playing magnificent. You already know that's where they put most of their drafts. They have a plethora of first-round picks on the line that they rotate out, and then they have the dominating Nick Bosa. The Niners at 8-1 is a good look, man, for me on the future bet. And once again, guys, the future bets are just like you're buying a stock. You're trying to buy low and cash high, man. So you can always hedge this if the Niners can get to the NFC Championship game. So I'm looking for 8-1. What about you, Spread?
Yep, both ways. I'm about to say the same thing. We're not necessarily saying this is the team we think is going to win the Super Bowl. We're saying this is the team that's undervalued. And in both of our plays, especially for mine here with the Titans at +800, I need them to win one game, and then I can safely hedge out, right? So I still can't believe I'm getting the number 1 seed with the bye, with Derrick Henry returning at plus 800. I see a lot of flaws in this Chiefs team. I don't necessarily believe in everything that they can do. I still think that they're missing that third weapon that Sammy Watkins brought to them last year. Now you only have two guys to key on. That's Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill, not necessarily 100%. This takes a lot away from it, right? And now you're dealing with the Titans team that's getting healthy at the right time. Derrick Henry comes back, completely changes the complexion of that game, makes Tannehill and A.J. Brown so much more effective. I still, it's almost just you have to do it. You're getting the number one seed, the only team in the AFC with the bye, and I'm getting plus 800. Chiefs are sitting there at plus 175. No way. All I need to do is win one game. Then I can start going for my hedging strategy. But give me the Tennessee Titans at plus 800.
That's a great one, Spread. Even stronger than my Niners pick. For all of the points that you, all of the reasons that you pointed out, including, oh man, you didn't even say about Julio Jones. See, right. The Titans are set up in a beautiful spot right now. Julio Jones and A.J. Brown have sat out pretty much all year and rested up and got perfectly healthy for this playoff run. They've been just chilling, just pretty much on cruise control through all the injuries, all the COVID. That's why, man, they have a great coach, man. He's one of my favorite coaches in the league, man. That guy can coach, man. And he has them ready every week, no matter who he has out there. And that's put them in the position there now. And as you and I know, they've given the Chiefs hell, dog. They've beaten them, 3 of the last 4. The only time they lost to them was in Kansas City. Was that the AFC Championship game that year? Or was that the divisional?
2 years ago.
Yeah, and they had them. They were up. The Chiefs made an unbelievable comeback, and that's one thing about Mahomes you have to give him. The kid, he isn't going to stop shooting. He's going to, play the whole game, and he did. And he was able to come back and get that victory. But man, the Titans are tough. The Titans are very tough. They already played Kansas City this year at Tennessee, and we saw what happened. It wasn't even close. So they're going to be physical. They're going to run the ball. Derrick Henry's back, like you said, and they're so physical. Think about the just like the Niners, man, the Titans are all physicality, man. They got receivers that are big, muscular running backs out wide. They're running 4.2s and they're 250, 6'4". You know what I mean? You got 2 of those, and then you got Derrick Henry coming out the backfield. I'm sure he's pretty angry about the Alabama loss, so he's going to be running like a runaway train on people, man. So great stock in the Titans that you picked right there. Spread. Let's get to kick the damn extra point, man. Well, this segment is where we talk about a strategy or choices by coaches in college and in the pros that affected the spread. Brandon Staley. We need to call this the Brandon Staley Memorial. I just can't get what this kid is on. John Harbaugh has brought a little bit more stock to doing what he did this year, as you know, and I know. He pretty much is the reason the Ravens didn't get to the playoffs this year because of those 2-point conversions and all that weird stuff he was doing, combined with Lamar Jackson, being injured. But Brandon Staley takes it to a whole nother level. You're down 17-14 in a game that the winner, or if you get a tie, you go to the playoffs. This kid went for a 4th and 1 from his own 18. Down 3 points, 17-14. Practically gave the Raiders with, the type of kicker they have in Carlson, a free 3 points. Spread, what was the score at the end of regulation?
29-29?
It was a tie, regardless. So, now, what happens if they score that touchdown and you didn't give them that 3 points, that free 3 points that you gave them because the defense got a 3 and out? If this would have been a punt, and they got a 3 and out, it would have been a punt, excuse me. Instead, you gave up a field goal because you went from the on 18. This tells me so much about this kid. One, he obviously has leeway from the front office like no young coach has ever had. They obviously tell him, hey, man, you're locked in no matter what, because some of the choices and the chances that he takes are just unnecessary, man. They're just unnecessary. It makes no sense to go for it from your own 18 down 3 points in the beginning of the third quarter. Like, come on, man. That's just not smart. That's not doing your team any favors. You could say, oh, what if they would have made it? If they would have made it, I would have still said it was a bad decision because you have to play field position. It wasn't like the Raiders were going up and down the field. You have one of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL. You have one of the most potent offenses in the NFL. You're going to get back in the game, as they did by scoring 15 points in the last 5 minutes to tie the ball game. Why give up 3 points like that? Why? It doesn't even make sense. What it is you're being impatient, you're being rash, you're being immature. You think you're playing Madden, and this is really people who are playing for their lives. Some of those guys are going to retire after this year that's on that squad, and they could have went to the playoffs this year. You wasted another year with Justin Herbert, too. And what do you think about the timeout and overtime spread that ended up stopping the
I think the timeout really overshadowed how bad this decision was. And we talked about the timeout rather than this decision. I think the Raiders were going for the win regardless of what they said afterwards. The idea of playing for a tie to me, yes, it might make sense, like if we were playing on a video game. But the thing is, it goes against everything that you have been building from day one of training camp. And that's that you go out to execute and win on every single snap and every single play, right? And every single game. And so I think the timeout kind of overshadowed how bad the 4th and 2 call was. And back to the 4th and 2 call, you know what my pet peeve is, 5-star, is when the announcers say, the analytics say this. Well, unless you're sitting in front of a computer, how do you know what it says? And the idea that analytics are this fixed model that only say one thing, that I have an NBA model, I'm constantly tinkering with it and constantly changing it. So I can understand. I think that he made the incorrect decision. And I would say, well, if his model told him that, I think that he was incorrectly factoring in the fact they were playing against the dome and they're going against one of the most consistent field goal kickers. So you miss it. You've lost 3 points. You've lost, and it could have been 7. So I thought the 4th and 2 decision was really bad. And I think that the timeout didn't matter as much. I think it was more fun to talk about and argue about. But I think it really overshadowed how bad this earlier decision was.
Yeah, the reason why I think a lot of people, as you said, these are pros. They're not supposed to play for a tie in no type of way. I'm sure that the Raiders had a strategy of, if we don't score, we'll take the tie, but we're trying to score. I don't think that they were going to even run a play because the clock was running down. And when he called the timeout, if you see after the game, their star running back, Austin Eckler, was speaking to one of the Raiders linemen at the time. Like, they caught some audio. You know, it's mics and cameras everywhere now. And he was like, were you guys going to run a play? He was like, nah, we're going to let it go. We're going to let it go. And I felt so bad for Justin Herbert, man. He's on the sidelines about to cry. It's a video of him saying, I just take a tie so bad right now. You know, you give your all, man, and then you have this little twerk come out there and thinks he's playing video games. Dude, you're dealing with real men who are sacrificing their limbs and their time and their energy and everything they have out here. You don't put them in a position like that. I'm sorry, man. We'll see if he learns from it. We'll see if he continues. You know, he's from the McVay tree, so I don't know what to expect. McVay's been in the league, went to the Super Bowl and everything. He's still at the Super Bowl running up the Belichick before the game. Oh, man, I really look up to you. Really, dude, you're playing the Super Bowl. Sit down. And then now you run into the end zone. So he's from his tree. So hopefully he isn't patterning himself after McVay. I really like Cincinnati's coach, Zach Taylor. He's from that tree, but he moves a little bit different than both of those guys. He still coaches sound football. So we'll see how Brandon Staley does coming forward. Me personally, I was expecting him to be fired tomorrow. The way that
I think he'll learn from the mistake. He's in his 30s, his first time coaching. When you hire a young coach, I mean, I think this is kind of what you expect. I think if you don't learn from your mistakes, you make the move. But I don't think you hire a guy that age and expect him to be perfect right off the bat.
Yeah, it's a difference between being perfect and and trying too much. You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to change the game, and you know, a lot of things come with that. You got to be able to take the outcome of what happens when you're trying stuff that hasn't worked in 100 years. Like I was saying, man, you could play John Madden football, and if you would have went for 4th one for your old AT, man would have made the computer stop you because it's just not the decision to make right there. So we'll see how Brandon Staley does the rest of the way with the Chargers. Excuse me if I said San Diego. I don't even remember. I always still call them San Diego because that's what I always see them as, man. But they're in LA now, but the Chargers. So, Brandon Staley, man, kick the damn extra point. So now, man, we get to the part that we call the Vegas homies, man. We bring in a couple of our homeboys who bet sports with us. First up, man, is actually the homie that connect the spread now, the most diehard Sixers fan and the only guy in Philly that thinks Joel Embiid is more important to the city than Rocky Balboa. Welcome to the show, my brother from another, from the city of brotherly love, the one and only co-host of Brown Bag Bets. Thank you for coming, Alex Noops Christansen. Thank you, brother. How are you, man?
Oh, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, gentlemen. It's so great to be here on the Wagering World. It's great to hang out with you both. I can't wait. Spread, we'll have to get you in Vegas next time. All three of us are there. It's always fun coming to see you, 5-star. So it's been great listening to you guys talk about football, but there's another sport going on. What do you think we talk a little tennis, huh?
Oh, man, I would love that. This is your segment, man. We call this segment our good brother Noops. So since that, we're going to let you lead, man. Hey, it's time to get into tennis. As you said, football is winding down. Basketball, the lines come too late. So we're going to be talking a lot more tennis on the Wagering World. And once again, guys, this is how we three connected from the beginning, was betting tennis, man. We're all three tennis bettors. We love the sport. We love wagering on it. What you got for us, Noops, on the Australian Open?
Well, I figure we'll start real quick, though, with some basics. I don't know how much of your listenership or how many of your viewers are familiar with betting tennis. I know it's something you and all of us are really familiar with. So just as kind of a little, breakdown of kind of how you can bet tennis. It's, of course, you start with money lines, similar to betting, kind of honestly like a boxing match. That's kind of how I think of betting tennis. Who wins? Pretty simple. You got an underdog, you have a favorite. But there's also a spread. You have a handicap, and that's basically how many games the person who wins the match wins by. You also have a total, so again, like a boxing match, instead of the number of rounds, how many games is the match played? So, for example, if a player wins 6-4, 6-4, 6 plus 4 plus 6 plus 4 is 20. You had a total of 20. 6 minus 4 is 2. 6 minus 4 is 2. You've got a spread of -4 there. So just a little quick coverage on all the different types of betting in tennis. Now, spread, I know that your nickname is Spread, but you don't bet a lot of spreads. How do you usually attack tennis? Which one of those kind of vehicles do you look at, and how do you put together your tennis bets?
Yeah, a lot of times when these underdogs win, there's no reason to take the games. You're much better in the long term. You take the money log line, especially if you're like us and you really like to target the underdogs. And that's what a lot of successful tennis bettors do, is we look for lines and we look for discrepancies. And the idea there is, right, rather than playing a bunch of favorites and having to hit at 52, 53%, we know plenty of guys that are hitting at 45% and turning huge profits on the year because they're consistently picking off the undervalued players and the money lines. And tennis, it's a long season. There's a lot of travel and there's a lot of tournaments that certain players don't care about. So you start to learn, right, who likes to be where. And the one thing that tennis has that, right, the NBA and the NFL don't have is appearance fees. Right. So there's times, right, where a young man or a young woman is paid a 6-figure sum to simply show up to the tournament. Do they really care about that tournament? No, but 6 figures is hard to pass up, unless you're in the top 5 in the world. So we take a confluence of all those factors and we're able to find a lot of money lines, especially on the underdog side.
Yeah, 5-star. I know you're also a big tennis bettor, but you like to attack it live more often. So, again, you're probably mostly a money line bettor. But what do you look for when you're watching a match, and how do you kind of make decisions on when to jump in on either side?
Like Sabalenka yesterday. A situation like Sabalenka yesterday, where you have the thing about it is, the great thing about betting tennis live, like any sport, but especially tennis. We're vets. We watch tennis a lot. You guys have to put your eyes on it to bet it live. Sometimes some of these good players, like he said earlier, they're just not into it that day. And sometimes they're dealing with injuries. And then sometimes, especially with the women, they're just not in the mood. We bet a lot of WTA. We like WTA a little bit better than ATP, but we do bet ATP. And WTA, man, a lot of these ladies, they get in their feelings sometimes, and they just don't want to play. Sabalenka, as you see, her serve fell apart yesterday. She was destroying her the first set. The second set, I saw when everything happened, when she started crashing, and I jumped in and I was able to get the other side. Remember, we have the underdog, and not only she's an underdog, but she's also losing the first set. So it's an astronomical number. And the computer isn't keeping up with the fact of the temperament of the player, how they're feeling, what they're doing. The only thing they're doing is reading that this girl is supposed to win and that she's favored to win. So that's the advantage you can get by betting these games live. Lock in while, have patience to sit down and actually watch the match. A lot of people want to just bet games and, let them happen, check them on the phone. All three of us, we watch these games, man. We sit in and put in the work because your eyes are going to help you along with your analytics. But I definitely like betting live, and I definitely like taking underdogs, man, because there's a lot of value in tennis because we're dealing with only having to handicap one individual. It's not like team sports. You got one individual against another individual, and anyone can have their day. And when you catch them the right way, it's some wonderful, wonderful plus money for you.
Yep. So again, like Spread talked about, you've got your pre-match bets. A 5-star just broke down what you could do live. My favorite thing to bet in tennis, what we're going to talk about a little bit today, is outrights before the tournament. Every tennis tournament has a bracket, similar to what you see in March Madness. There is a big bracket, whether it be 32, 64, 128 when it's the Grand Slams. You take a look at the bracket, you try to figure out who comes all the way through. And, there's a ton of different ways to do this. You can have your favorites, you have a lot of underdogs. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Again, and really what you're doing there is it's kind of like you're building a parlay. We'll talk about the Australian Open today. It's a field of 128. It takes 7 matches to win that tournament. So an outright bet is effectively you betting that player to win 7 matches in a row. So you have to kind of think of it that way, and that's generally how I evaluate it. And just as a couple points of reference here, if someone say is going to be even money for the entire tournament, let me see here. I like to ask Spread questions he's not ready for. Spread, if you had, what would you think the outright price on someone would be as if they were plus 100 in all 7 matches?
14 to 1.
127 to 1.
Wow.
What we're trying to get at with that is it's just they're really big numbers. So, you think about 127 to 1, that's a little less than a 1% chance to win the tournament. The big favorites here, as I'm looking, and we'll talk about those, the big favorite here this week in the men's tournament, again, we'll talk about Mr. Djokovic in a second, is plus 125. So now it's your turn, 5-star. If your outright price is plus 125, what do you think the money line for all 7 of your matches would have to average?
The average for each one, if it's plus 125 for 7 matches, plus one up in the plus 120 range, right?
And if you're plus 125 for the whole tournament, you're minus 800 actually in every match. So
okay.
If you've got someone that's that low, again, you have to think about them as being a huge favorite. So spend some time, try to look at that, and just wrap your head around those numbers.
What's the answer there? Like 164 to 1?
I'm sorry, minus 800 gets you. So let's see. Plus
no. If you were plus 125, you'd be about
290 to 1.
290. I'm completely undervaluing these.
And that's why
this is a great exercise.
These guys are mathematical wizards.
I'll put together a little chart for you guys. You can share it with everybody, maybe post it at like the end, tweet it out or something. But yeah, sit down, go through the math. Again, if you're learning to be a bettor, one of the most important things you have to learn is break-even probability. You sit down, you do that. Again, I'll send you guys a little bit of chart, but we'll keep that in mind. Let's dive into the actual tournament. I know that, I am generally a women's tennis fan, but, we're here to talk about the Australian Open. I think at this point, the most interesting thing that we have going on here is on the men's side of things. And I don't think necessarily any of us are going to be able to tell any of the fine folks whether or not Novak Djokovic is going to play at this point. It seems like every day, every few hours, there's a news story. So let's talk about it both ways. If Novak Djokovic is going to play in the Australian Open, what are you thinking of from the men's side here, 5-star? If Novak is in, is there really anybody that can test him? Can Medvedev beat him again like he did at the end of last year when he was all beat up? Can you really see anybody upsetting the apple cart on the men's side if Novak does play?
I can't. The only one that's been seeming like he's really ready to make a push. He said that it was a big 3 now. It was him, Medvedev, and Djokovic, and that's Zverev. How do you say it?
Zverev.
Sasha.
That's all right, Sasha.
Alexander Zverev, however you pronounce it, it's German, man. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But anyway, that's my guy, though. I bet him a lot, man. He's the only one that I can see maybe pushing. But once again, you and I and Spread know by watching these matches, tennis is a different animal. These guys are head cases, Medvedev and Zverev. So the only solid, and even Djokovic is a head case, but I never see him when it comes to these type of tournaments, like just, oh man, I'm just giving up. I don't care. No, he comes to win. So that's one thing that you can bet on when you're dealing with Djokovic is him playing with excellence and always trying to win. But those other two, which are the only two that are really going to compete against, because we know Nadal isn't any good on hard courts, So those two are the only ones that can really push him. So I don't think if Djokovic plays, he would definitely be the bet. What is he right now to win the tournament outright?
Plus 125. And if you're going to bet that, again, another thing about tennis, go to your book, pull up the house rules, and figure out kind of what happens if someone withdraws from the tournament. If you have a book that's going to just refund your money if Djokovic doesn't get to play, it's probably worth putting a small bet down there. Now, Spread, again, kind of same question for you. Can you really see anybody beating Novak if he does show up? And, if you think yes, who is it?
Yes, I do. This is so, talk about uncharted. So the last 2 years, we have been dealing with so much stuff that we have no experience with, right? For dealing with the NBA and the NFL, no crowds, right? Now we're dealing with a guy that's been sitting in detention from what I'm reading. And of course, I don't know. How does that affect his preparation? And the only thing, it's really got to take a toll here. So to me, I've actually thrown that outright out, even if he plays. Now, my concern and how I lose and how I end up being wrong, right, is that he has 2 weeks to play himself back into shape, right? That he probably wins his first couple round matches, even, with not being able to spend time on the practice court. Although I did read that he was in the gym today, and there was various reports on whether or not the other players would talk to him in the gym. That's what we've gotten to, right, with tennis reporting.
Straight politics. Let's make these. Oh, man. It's like 5 other players, right, who already got the medical waiver and playing. It's only because he's
we don't know. Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. It's a mess.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the politics is the right word. So for me, I'm not going to look to him even if he plays. I actually like Medvedev here, and my idea is he's the one of all the players that is able to take advantage of the quick service. The Australian Open, one of my favorites, number one, because it's at night, so I get to watch uninterrupted, right, without my phone going off and running errands and dinner time. And 2, because it's the quickest surface of most of the hard courts. There's a couple there, of course, indoor and on the tour. But for a major tournament, it is the quickest surface. Quick surfaces favor hard-hitting, big serving players. So I really do like Medvedev's chances to get things done here. 5-star mentions Zverev. You can't count Zverev out, right? But I think in the matchup in Australia, I think Zverev would have a better chance in New York, in Flushing Meadows, at Arthur Ashe Stadium, where it plays slower. And his fact that he plays, Zverev uses less aggressive ground strokes, right? He's more consistent defensive from the baseline. Medvedev likes to attack. He likes to get the points over quick. And I think this plays well here for him on the quicker surface. So if I were to take a stab on one of the men's players that's not like a complete long shot, I would take it on Medvedev. And speaking of long shots, I think that's one of the reasons, right, Noops and 5-star, that we enjoy the WTA more. There's not a lot of value in long shots on the men's side. Where the women's long shots, like cash left and right.
A book every time. We already know who's going to win. Like now, you even know now it's going to be Zverev in the semifinals with Medvedev and with Djokovic and somebody
and Nadal if he stays healthy.
A big server, big server's going to sneak up in there. I just can't go against Joker, man. I'm sorry, not at plus 125. Think about it, guys. Every time he faces someone, he's going to be at least a minus 200 to 300 favorite. Medvedev, he may be. What you think, guys, against Medvedev, him in the finals? What would it be? What would you say? 180, minus 180?
Somewhere between minus 150 and minus 200, probably closer to minus 150. And I like what you said about big servers, 5-star, because there was one name that stuck out to me. The second place finisher at Wimbledon, Matteo Berrettini, is 33-1. What do you think of that? Do you think he has what it takes to put this together? He's, obviously lost to Novak a handful of times. And again, I go back, it would have him averaging about a minus 150 money line or so, which I think it'll be a little bit deeper. Obviously, when it gets to the final, everything's off. But, 5-star, what do you think of that? 33-1 on Berrettini.
Hey, you got it. Hey, that's a good bet. Berrettini is a baller, man. He's one strike. You know that. If it serves off, if he comes down to his baseline game, he's finished. So that's the only thing about him. But he's definitely at that number is a good bet because, as we said, it's so top heavy on the men's game, man. It's so top heavy, man. I just can't fade Joker, me personally. Until Joker shows me something else, man, I can't fade him. I like Joker plus 125. Who do you like, Noops?
Yeah, again, Berrettini 33-1. Spread best of 5. That's the other big thing here about the men's side. We'll talk about the women's in a second. They continue to play best of 3 tennis. The men normally play best of 3 for this Grand Slam. It's best of 5, and I try to look for people like that, and that's kind of what stuck out to me about Berrettini. So, do you like Berrettini, and was there anybody else again maybe you liked?
I have to congratulate you. I just said you can't find a long shot, and I think that you did make a great pick, right? And what I would have to say,
found one.
Yeah, I know. Great work there. That's great preparation. You got to give him his credit. One thing I would add to your points, if you want to go ahead, and say, hey, Berrettini's a great play here. Berrettini did great at Wimbledon. Then he played carrying an injury for the rest of the season, which I believe is causing him to be undervalued going into this tournament. Of course, they had the month to month and a half off because I don't even think he played at the World Finals, right? So he's been off for at least 6 to 8 weeks. Definitely an ability to get healthy. And I think that he's a guy that when he was playing with that injury in the U.S. Open, in the United States hardcourt swing this year, kind of caused him to be undervalued and slip from our radar because I'll tell you what, I overlooked him. And I think it's because of the play that he had in the United States to end the season. But we were qualifying that when we were handicapping that, he wasn't playing at 100%. Great job, Noops. That's a really good pick.
Definitely, man.
Let's transition over to the women's side. And before we do, again, another little trivia question here for you guys. If you look over the men's side, over the last 10 years, only 3 different men have won the Australian Open. Federer twice, Wawrinka snuck in there once, and the rest is Djokovic. Now, if I look at the women's side, I'll let you guys guess here. Over the last 10 years, spread, how many different women have won the Australian Open?
It's 8.
What do you think, 5-star?
Over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me think of who might have went back to back. Who dominated enough to go back.
I'm gonna guess how many times Serena won minus everything else.
Right.
I don't think there's been another repeat champion.
Thinking. That's the same thing I was thinking. So I'm saying maybe 4.
You were pretty close, spread 7. I guess by Price is Right rules, though, you're out because you went over. Azarenka went back-to-back in 2012 and 2013. Li Na, Serena Williams in 15 and 17. Kerber in the middle. Wozniacki gets her first Grand Slam. Then we have Osaka, Kenin, Osaka. Like you guys said, this is a pretty wide-open tournament. And you look at some of those names. I mean, Naomi Osaka, the first time she won, I don't think that necessarily we all thought that she was as great as she looked that week. Sophia Kenin, that was a little bit of a surprise. Wozniacki, again, it's you see kind of a little more surprises here. It's not kind of like Wimbledon where you see a certain kind of player. It's not like the French Open where you generally see a kind of player, and then the U.S. Open even still. So, as we look at the women's side here, I'll open it up to you here first, Spread. I mean, Ashley Barty's our favorite. Then you have Naomi Osaka, but we haven't really seen her play much tennis. She talked about kind of being fatigued, and that's not really what you want to hear before a 2-week grind of a Grand Slam. So who kind of is sticking out to you as a possible winner on the women's side?
Yeah, well, first of all, you can't discount Ash Barty. And if I'm going to go for a short favorite, I actually do like Barty better than Naomi for this tournament. And my idea is, number one, she's playing at home. So she doesn't have the same issues with the travel, the visa coming into the country. I think that this year especially, and last year too, right, where they all quarantined for 2 weeks and they're sending out weird videos that they were all getting crazy after 10 days of isolation, right? But I think she's going to be much more comfortable at home here. Plus, she has the great game to do well on this surface. Her ability to slice, keep the ball low, yet still dial it up with the power with the other women. So as far as like the non-long shots, I think Ash Barty is properly favored, right? But this is what's so much fun about the women is because we can look at a bunch of these numbers where these players have a legitimate chance to win. Let's go over some of the top players. Iga Swiatek at plus 1,500. I can understand why she's ranked so high. I also think that Swiatek gets a little bit overvalued on hard courts because she is so dominant on clay. So I'm going to pass on that one. Simona Halep's one that I would usually go for. But Simona struggled to end the year last year with injuries, as well as being recently married. And those are certain things that I always factor in once. And she married a billionaire too, right? So, I mean, she definitely doesn't need the money from this. I mean, a lot of top women like to marry billionaires. Interesting for the amount of money they make.
I'd like to marry a billionaire.
I'm taking Simona off my list as well. Sabalenka, boy, if we had done this before I had watched the matches this week, I would say that you had to put her up there. I think that her style plays very well to the service. She's got a quick turnaround to figure out what's going on there. And you had mentioned to me in a message, Noops, that you might think that she's not 100%, and that's why you're not seeing the proper knee bend on her serve and why she's not looking that well. So when I'm looking through, I think that Paula Badosa is someone that you can't count out at 17-1.
I like her a lot.
Idea there, yeah, is usually the woman who wins the end of the year tournament has a great season to follow up the next season. So you can't count her out. And another woman who really finished the year strong is Annette Kontaveit, right? And she's one that we've had so much fun debating about on our podcast, right? But you can't really deny that her ability, because we always saw, or at least, Jorge and I always saw, the flashes of brilliance, but she just couldn't put it together. And you'd always make great points. I can't trust her for the majority of the matches, but the consistency's dialed in. She made the coaching change, and we're seeing the effects here. So the two long shots that I'm looking at are Badosa and Annette Kontaveit at 16 and 17 to 1.
Now, 5-star, I know that you watch a ton of tennis. One of the reasons I love talking tennis with you is because I don't have that much time. I don't watch nearly as much tennis as you do. We're about a week and a half through the season. Last week, our winners were Barty. You had Simona Halep win a title, as well as Amanda Anisimova. We're about half through this week. In general, as you've been watching some of these women matches, who's really popped off the screen at you? Who really looks like they've taken a big step forward, had a good offseason, and looks just really prepared to take advantage of tennis down under?
Anisimova looks really good. It's just that, and she's not scared of anyone. That's the thing about her too. She's going to come out swinging a racket, but the problem is when her game's not on, that's when she tends to kind of go all the way in. She doesn't have, like most of these women, they have issues. Not too many of them are really mentally tough when it comes to it. Halep is one of the ones that's really mentally tough. Serena used to be really mentally tough. The rest of these ladies, Ashley Barty, she's really pretty much stays level-headed during the match, whether it's going good or bad. So she does. But most of these ladies are very emotional, as you know. And if things get to going bad, they kind of swan dive. One of our favorites, Sevtalina, since she got married to Monfils. Monfils won the championship. Since now she can't win a match. She would have been one of the ones that I usually would have been looking to on the hard court. She usually really shows up and plays well on hard court. She's looked horrible since the new year. Raducanu hasn't looked good at all, man. She looks like she's not dealing well with the success of the U.S. Open and all the fame. Keenan, oh my God, she's nothing. She didn't deal well with success either. Ever since the Australian Open Championship, she's been downhill. The girl who I really like a lot is at the value is Swiatek. Swiatek is a player that she can play with anybody. You guys know that when she's on, and she's a Grand Slam champion already too. So I like her. She's 14 to 1 right now. I'm a big fan of Rabakina. That's my girl there. She the big Belarusian. Is she Belarusian or she's Russian? I think she's Russian. She's Russian and plays for she's Belarusian and plays for Russia. I think. Maybe. I think so. I think she claims Russia.
She's from Kazakhstan. That's what it is.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Kazakhstan, yeah.
If her game's right, she has the best serve on the circuit right now. So the hard courts and the speed of the hard courts with her ability to serve and play a lot of short games definitely is going to benefit her well. But I agree with Spread. Badosa is a tough girl, man. I like Badosa a lot. She's not afraid of anyone. She comes to play. The thing about Badosa, she doesn't do anything really well. You know what I mean? She's just like a good all-around player, but it's nothing that stands out about her where you could just say, like, for instance, you can go with Swiatek, you can go straight to her forehand. Rabakina, you can go to her serve. It's nothing that you can say about her that really stands out, but she's just a solid player. And at 2,000, to 1, you gotta like that. That's some good odds. But I still Barty, Barty is all reliable for us who bet tennis. She's the most reliable lady in big matches that you can bet. And Osaka, man, Osaka's not mentally well right now. She's not focused on tennis. I think she's on some other things. Some things are happening behind the scenes with her that we don't know about that's obviously affecting her game. She's going through a growing period right now. She's 21, 22, 23 years old. But first time in a real relationship with the rapper that she was talking to. They doing a bunch of traveling. She doing a bunch of social justice stuff, and props to her for, seeing the world big in the tennis. But I think it's affecting her game a lot. She's not practicing as much. She just doesn't look like the same player that we saw a couple years ago. And we see this all the time. That's why it's been 7 champions in the last 10 years in this tournament. And all of the tournaments in women's, it's hard to find. Serena was the only one that really had dominance over the last decade. Most of the time, it's different women every time because a lot of these ladies don't deal well with the success that comes with winning these majors. Afterwards, they have to deal with so much press. They start feeling themselves. They stop practicing as hard. So to answer your question, though, I probably go with Badosa. Has been playing really good, and Swiatek's been playing good, and Barty's just like I said, reliable.
You make a great point about success. Right. I just want to throw this in real quick, Noops. In America, we don't see it, right? It's not that big here. Tennis. A lot of these women from these smaller countries, they become the biggest celebrity in their whole country, right? Jelena Ostapenko, literally the biggest celebrity, even bigger than Porzingis. She's the biggest celebrity.
Swiatek in Poland. Look at Swiatek in Poland. She's
exactly.
the queen of Poland,
Yeah, Kontaveit is the #1 celebrity in Estonia right now. So I think it is tough for they come back, and I mean they're like the Queen of England with the amount of demands on their time.
And it's funny that you said that, man. One time, you guys know, especially you, Noops, with you coming down here with me before and us kicking it like we do. I meet a lot of people just out, in the casinos and stuff, because everyone travels internationally here to Vegas. This is one place that, we get people from everywhere. I'll never forget one of the guys that was in the sports book betting big one day, man. He saw me, and I was in my little area that I'm usually in my VIP perch, man, and I was coming down. He was like, hey, man, how do you get up there? And I heard his accent. I was like, hey, where you from, man? He was like, Estonia. And the first thing he said, you probably heard of Kontaveit. I understand what you're saying, man. Like, in these smaller countries, man, it's huge. Even Raducanu. How you say her name?
Emma Raducanu.
Raducanu, yeah, Raducanu.
Yeah. Because England doesn't have much success in tennis.
Dude, she's like on the cover of Vogue and all this stuff. She's 18, 19 years old, dude. She's not thinking about going to practice. She's thinking about going to this ball that they just invited her to. You know what I mean? So it's tough on the women's side. Who do you like, Noops, to win it all?
Yeah, I love what you guys said about Anna Samova. I think she's someone that, from a value perspective, had the worst year of just about anybody last year. Dealt with a bunch of injuries, dealt with the passing of her father unexpectedly. Again, not just her father, he was her coach, was with her every single day. And towards the end of the last season, really started to pop. Has looked great this week. I've been scooping up little bits of her at 50-1 or better, just about every chance I can get. If I had to pick a name, though, I think you guys are right. It's Barty or probably Swiatek. I mean, Barty was someone. If you have some futures around, poke around and look. There were some nice numbers on Barty to finish the season as the #1 ranked player. She's actually done it 3 seasons in a row. I was pretty surprised to see the 3 years in a row we had the same #1 player, but that was floating around at like plus 300 a couple weeks ago. I don't know what the season started, if it still is, but poke around and look for something like that. But yeah, Anna Samova is my best value on the board at 50-1. So got a little tennis talk for you guys. Again, you go back, we got you set on the matches to matches, went through and broke down both sides of the US Open. That was just about everything I had, gentlemen. Any other tennis questions you had for me, or any topics you want to cover before I get out of here and let you guys wrap?
Anything, Spread?
No, it's just so much fun to talk tennis with you, and I'm sure we will be doing it soon.
We're going to do this weekly, man. We're doing this weekly.
I'll be back every Tuesday.
As long as my guy's schedule permits, man. We know he has obligations with his show, the Brown Bag podcast, man. One of the best sports betting podcasts on TV, man. And my guy's been doing that a long time, man. You guys make sure you tune in and catch him on that, man. He does a wonderful job on that. And we're blessed that he's our homeboy, man. And we're going to have him every week on here to give you guys a lot more tennis knowledge. Great segment. Noops, we love you, man. We appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you soon, brother.
Awesome. See you guys next week.
All right, guys. Now, after that great segment by Noops, he able to give you guys a little information on the betting side of tennis so that you guys can be more acquainted with how you bet tennis, with the style, and also with the players, so you guys will be prepared as we go forward, transitioning from football to betting a lot more tennis. Tennis, as I said, is one of our go-tos. Please remember that the handicapping on tennis is one of the best sports to handicap. You only got 2 people you're dealing with, man. So that's a lot better than dealing with 11 people factoring in or 5 people factoring in. So we really, really look forward to a Noops segment every week with you guys, and we're going to be talking a lot of tennis. Hey, Spread, let's get to the ball and parlay, man, and give these guys something to go make some money with. Spread's going to give his best bet for the week. I'm going to give you my best bet for the week. You're going to bet them straight, and then you're going to parlay them. Unfortunately, we had Montana due to the injury getting away last week, but my guy Spread was able to come through for you guys with the +10. Spread, what you got for him this week?
All right, and you know that we love the dogs, right? And we play a lot of dogs. People who watch the show are going to see, we usually find the value on the underdogs, but we're not rigid. We're not mechanical. We're not afraid to lay it with the favorite when the numbers, when the situation calls for it. That's the case this week with the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yes.
We recently expanded the NFL playoffs. I think, 2 years ago, the Pittsburgh Steelers would be at home this weekend, and rightfully so. Anyone who's watched this team cannot say that they're a playoff team. They're a great team to bet on week in and week out. They did a great job providing for their fans. You can't question their effort. You can't question their heart. But what you could question was the way that they built this roster and the fact that they went from having one of the strongest offensive lines in the NFL to now they currently have one of the weakest offensive lines in the NFL. And this is a team that is built on running the ball and defense. Of course, Roethlisberger is great. Of course, Roethlisberger, can get things done on 3rd and long when the run game isn't working. But this is not the way the team was built. And unfortunately, the offensive line does not complement the way that the team plays. And we'll get into the Chiefs later. I do think that the Chiefs they don't think that they have an elite defense. I think they will struggle against elite offenses. Unfortunately, or fortunately for the Chiefs this week, unfortunately for the Steelers, the Chiefs are not, this is not an elite offense they're going against. They are going to be able to control the line of scrimmage, right? And they're not going to allow Pittsburgh to do what they want to do, which is get into 3rd and short, right? Be able to 2nd and short, be able to take shots down the field, right? With Big Ben's arm. This is going to be Big Ben's most likely, unless I lose this bet, it's going to be his last game ever, right? And he had a great career, right? But let's be honest, the guy's not Tom Brady, right? He's not out there taking care of his body. I mean, I'm sure he was with the rest of the Pittsburgh fans, right, at Buffalo Wild Wings after the game, drinking some beer and eating some French fries. And we've seen it, and that's why he doesn't have the longevity, right? Well, first of all, no one has really the longevity of Brady, but that's the reason why his career, even though he has that immense, amazing talent, is coming to the end. So you look at Kansas City, and they're just better at all. They have a better offensive line. Defensive line, you can argue. Defensive line, you can argue because the Steelers do feature T.J. Watt, who's probably the defensive player of the year if Micah Parsons does not receive that award. But through the depth, right, Kansas City can just stick with it. Then you look on the offensive end, Kansas City will be able to establish the run. Kansas City does have the better weapons on offense. And to me, they have the best quarterback in the NFL right now. These two teams met in Week 16, 5-star. The final score was 36-10. It was 36-3 with less than 2 minutes to go. The Chiefs, the Steelers got a nice little touchdown against that prevent defense, right? Which I think pushed the game over as well, which is kind of fun when you're handicapping football, right? When these teams get up so much and they just switch to, hey, you can move down the field all you want. We just want to keep that clock running. I believe the same thing happens this week. Mike Tomlin is probably my favorite coach in the NFL. I love what he's done with this team year in and year out. And I believe that this season is probably another feather in Tomlin's cap. I don't know many coaches in the NFL who could have dealt with everything they had with having a bottom 5 offensive line, a quarterback that probably should have retired last season or the season before that, right? And they continual injuries on the defense and still have a winning record. Credit to Mike Tomlin for everything he's done. Unfortunately, this is not the year. This is not the week. I'm laying it with the Chiefs. It's -12.5, -13. It's good to 13.5. Take the Kansas City Chiefs.
Throw it up for the screen for him, if you don't mind.
I will throw that up there right now while you break down yours.
Okay. So my guy Spread is going for one leg of the ball and parlay. He's going to say lay the -12.5 with the mighty Kansas City Chiefs against the happy just to be in the playoffs Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw, like he said, an early version of that game, and it wasn't too close, and we expect it to be about the same this time. As he said, we take a lot of dogs, but we also, when the numbers right, we lay the favorites, and the numbers definitely right with -4 with Buffalo versus New England. I'm rolling with Josh Allen and the Bills Mafia. They got Saturday night game. Last year, due to COVID restrictions, it wasn't a full stadium. It's going to be rocking at Orchard Park. They can't wait to get New England in there after what happened. Even though they won the last game at New England pretty handily, they're still steaming. Buffalo's locker room is about the way that they were dominated by New England, running all down their throat that first matchup when it was bad wind. This the weather's not going to be that bad. It's just going to be cold, which any football player will tell you that's not a problem. It's the wind. It's not going to be any wind. I expect the best player on the field, my favorite quarterback in the NFL at this time, I call him the man child. Josh Allen is going to dominate this game. He's going to come out with his hair on fire, smacking linebackers, throwing 60-yard dimes on the run. And the number one defense in the NFL is not the Patriots. A lot of people don't know that. The number one defense in the NFL by stats is the Buffalo Bills. And I think they're going to show you why they're ranked number one in total defense this coming Saturday night. This was the perfect matchup for Buffalo and the wrong matchup for New England. One, you have a team in Buffalo that despises New England. They've been their doormat the last decade. They can't wait to open up a can on the Patriots. That's who they wanted out of everyone in the playoffs, because they want to send a message to Belichick that, hey, man, we know you got this rookie quarterback that you think is pretty good, but, hey, man, we got the MVP of the AFC East on our team in Josh Allen, and we're going to dominate this division over the next decade as long as he's young and as long as he's healthy, and he's in his prime now the next 10 years. Mac Jones is about to be exposed. This is his first playoff game. He's a pure rookie. This is his first game ever playing, and he wasn't that impressive to me in the regular season. I know his stats look good, but we all know Josh McDaniel is a great coach, man. He put him in a lot of positions to win. But what's the problem? The reason why Tom Brady left New England? Because of the outside weapons that they have, or the lack of. They're going against the number one pass defense in the whole league. Buffalo is going to load up in the box. They're going to shut down the run or slow it down at least enough to make it where the game comes down on Mac Jones' right arm. And I expect him to not be prepared for this moment. It's going to be a teaching lesson for him. I think Mac Jones is going to have a good career. He set up well in New England. I don't know if he's going to have a Brady-type career. I mean, who does? But I think he will win a lot of ball games for Bill Belichick. But at the end of the day, this is his first experience with NFL football, playoff style. And he's going to Orchard Park, one of the most advantageous home field advantages in the whole league. You know, like you don't want to go to Buffalo.
Them fans are jumping through tables, 5-star.
Dude,
They jump through tables pregame.
The whole stadium's drunk. You know what I mean? Like they're in there. It's like below 20 degrees and everyone has their shirt off, excluding the women. You know, it's like you know, this is not where you want to go play your first NFL playoff game. And as I said, they're limited offensively with their weapons. New England has won. This is one of the better coaching jobs that Bill Belichick has done. But I think he's in a situation just like Nick Saban, where you can coach all you want. You could be have all these great plays drawn up. You can manage the team. You could do all that, but it's still a talent-based situation. And how last night in the national championship, Alabama just didn't have enough talent to call up on when they needed it. That's the same way it's going to be with the Patriots, man. I don't expect this game to be close at all. I expect Buffalo to win by at least a touchdown. I expect them to jump on them early and often. And I expect them to really come in motivated and ready to play. I see their defense making huge plays. And once again, this is a night game in Buffalo. So we're all on Josh Allen and the Bills Mafia -4. We just got to go with a better quarterback and the better defense at home. Everything points to a Buffalo victory. So the ball and parlay for this week, my guy Spread gave out Kansas City. This went up to 13 now, Spread.
It's 12.5, 13. I figure I give 13 because I can see the Steelers taking a lot of money this week. So
okay,
by the time they watch it, right, it'll probably be 13.
Anything under 2 touchdowns, my guy says lay with the Chiefs. And I'm telling you, take Buffalo -4 at home Saturday night against the Patriots and their rookie quarterback, Mac Jones. We want you to bet them straight and then parlay them. If you parlay them, you get 1 to 2.6, which is 200 wins you 500. And you can bet them straight as well, man. And we're going to try to cash this week, man. No college, all professionals this week. We really appreciate you guys for tuning in to the Wagering World. You can catch my guy, Spread Astaire, anytime on Twitter @Spread Astaire, and myself at 5-Star in Vegas, spell out the 5. We'll be on it weekly exclusively on School TV. Also, we'll keep you guys updated on Twitter. If you guys are interested in joining the Supreme Clientele, where we give out our personal plays, make sure that you give us a DM, and we'll try to arrange that for you. Until then, we'll see you guys next week on the Wagering World. The best of luck to you all.